And mackerel is one of my favourite fish to catch, as well as marlin and dolphin fish and everything else, but I like catching mackerel. And tonight it's purely lure fishing, not bait fishing. That will be our next seminar later in January. But tonight we're going to do this. A few things to remember though, guys. We've got a new closure coming in. So the closure on mackerel starts on the 1st of February, and there's a 4-week closure, and there's a little gap where you can fish in between. And then it starts again on the 1st of March, I think it is again. And then there's, or somewhere in there, got to check the dates. And there's another month closure again, okay? So we've got to pray for good weather in that little gap. Otherwise we're going to have like a 3-month closure nearly by the time we go to Woe. So hopefully we'll get into that period with some really good fishing. Like I know it's going to enhance the fishing a lot in due course. I don't know if it's really necessary because the fishing for mackerels, I've been mackerel fishing since with my dad in the late 70s. So I've always mackerel fished out here since the old bar, and the fish we actually catch more fish these days than we did back then. Maybe we're a bit more clever at catching them, and the lures are better and whatever. But the fishing for me has never changed. It's always been go out there and get your 5 mackerel, whatever, you know. 3 these days, sorry. soon to become 1. Soon to become 1. Anyhow, it's still very good. And who caught mackerel early this year? Put your hands up. You got Spanish mackerel. Sorry. Oh, we do. Yeah, that's my kids catch fish, so they're valid. But yeah, so who has caught Spanish mackerel? I'm talking about early this year, sorry, in the previous season, because they don't normally come on this early as they have been, you know. Okay, and this season now, as in from late November, anyone caught one yet? No, okay. I haven't got one yet either because I haven't tried for them yet. So I've been too busy catching dolphin fish and other stuff. That's the trouble with this early season stuff is, like normally traditionally we'd just be chasing dolphin fish because this is what we do in November, early December. And then the marlin show up and we start chasing marlin, and then the mackerel show up and we start chasing mackerel. This year it all showed up. So it's like, where do I go? And there's only a few days you get, it's really quite daunting what you're going to do on that day because there's many options to do. And this is only going to continue for probably another 4 months, going by what they're catching up north from Yeppoon, Bundy, Harvey Bay, Sunshine Coast. That's all coming down here. So it gets better and better as it goes along. And that's from all the species I just said, plus the yellowfin, plus wahoo as well. Okay. So we've got a lot of stuff here to talk about, but we're going to try and narrow it down using the scenarios we would do. Firstly, to pick the day we're going to go fishing, pick the gear we're going to take with us, and then what we're going to do when we get out there. Stu. Yep. So I'm going to run through the gear first, and then we're going to go out there and do it, and then I'm going to tell you how to catch them, gaff them, clean them, and then hopefully it all works out. The problem is up till Christmas Eve, the fishing was pretty good. We had a really good run of mackerel. We're talking mackerel at the moment. About 3 weeks ago, they've got the spotties they bagged out down at Palmy and a few out the front here. And then the Spanish turned up about 2 weeks ago, or maybe 10 days ago, and they were really good. They were really good off the seaway here. A few down at Palmy, a few at the gravel patch, but really good out the front here. They've gone a little bit quiet, and I dare say they'll be out there now. You need to go early though for mackerel fishing. You need to be out there when it's dark still, okay? But not when there's 2.5 metre swells and run out tight, because the bar's a bit tricky. So just watch that bar. There's a big sandbar in the middle. How was the other day when you went out, Stu?
It wasn't too bad actually.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, but the swell was pretty small.
Yeah, Stu went out Christmas Day. That was the last chance any of us have been out. But I did talk to the gentleman who went out today. How's the bar today? Where's he gone? Down the back down there. Sorry. Wasn't too bad. Yeah, it was much swell. Yeah, the swell's building a little bit, I think. But you went out on the high tide at lunchtime, right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it wouldn't have been too bad then. How was it on the way back in on the run out?
Yeah, that's still going.
Not too bad. Yeah. Okay.
Looks like there's a really big wave period at the moment.
Yeah, the big wave period's about 6 to 8 seconds on the sets, I think. But it is meant to build a bit as the weekend progresses. The swell up to about 2.8, I think, or 2.6. Do most of you guys, who goes out, who doesn't go through the Seaway? That's the better question to answer. Ask. Okay, so somebody's go through South Passage, I guess, or down Tweed. Who goes out through Tweed?
Yep.
Yep. Currumbin?
Really
Currumbin's very shallow at the moment, so be careful there.
Yeah, I'll go through Tweed mostly.
Through Tweed, do you? Yeah, okay. So all the bars, you just got to be careful. The sand's forever shifting because we're not out there. The weather's not consistent to be enough out there every weekend, you know. So you sort of lose touch a little bit. In 2 weeks, it can change drastically. A bit of swell come through. There's a big low. There was a big low that's formed up off top of Fraser. It's forming at the moment, and it sort of was meant to come down the coastline. It's going to be really crappy for the weekend, but now it's actually been sucked east towards Newcastle. And it builds out there, and then it goes down sort of halfway down New South Wales. We don't get the wind off it as bad as they're saying we're going to get early in the week, but it will be a big swell coming off it by perhaps Sunday or something like that. The wind supposedly on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week. In most of the days, as long as it sticks to the plan, the wind's around about 8 to 12 knots most days, so it's fishable with the odd sort of 14 knot wind day.
Still starting pretty sunny,
East, more east of that cyclone out there. Yeah, east southeast with a little bit of north Sunday afternoons, but mainly east. Yep. So east normally brings a big swell for some reason, pushes it in. Yeah. So when you go to southerly, it's not too bad. You can sort of as it low goes further south, it'll swing around. The swell will go more south and get better for us. But whilst east, it'll be full on straight on the bar here, all the bars. Anyhow, that's just the weather thing. Okay, now to the gear. So at this time of the year, as I said, all the options are there. We don't normally have this. This is very rare. And so my scenario would be at the moment would be to get there early. I'll be trawling all deep divers straight up at daylight, on daylight till probably around 6 or 7. And then at 7 o'clock, I'd switch then to 2 divers and 2 skirts and still trawling at that 6 to 7 knots. And then by about 8 or 9 o'clock, unless there's a tide change or bite time, I'd be switching to all skirts then. Okay, does that make sense? So till 7, all lures, all hard bodies, deep divers. 7 till, so 9, 2 hard bodies, 2 skirts. And this is inside of 50 metres, please remember that. If you go outside of 50 metres and go chase dollies and marlin, it's all skirts from as soon as you get out there, okay? No hard bodies at all. And then after sort of 9, 10 o'clock, it's all skirts. You can still troll around hard bodies, but you get the odd mackerel. But there are mackerel bites which I've done really well on in the middle of the day. But on Spanish mackerel, like this year, we did really well. But predominantly, it's going to be dolphinfish and marlin and yellowfin tuna. Now, yellowfin tuna will take your deep divers, so that's why you can troll deep divers till later, inside of 50 metres. Okay. How many people fish outside of 50 metres? Say 36 fads and stuff like that? Probably half of you. How many people here have a boat over 4.5 metres? Probably most of you do. So the guys that haven't been at that depth, that have that size boat, when the weather's sort of under 15 knots, so 10 or 12 knots, 8 knots, at about 10 to 12 knots, you're starting at little white caps. Okay, at 15, it's white capped. Okay, and as long as the swell's under about 1.2 metres, and you've got a 4.5 metre boat, you're fine to go at that depth in that sort of situation. Sorry, mate? Yeah, if it's got any northerly in it, yeah. The trouble with the Gold Coast, you're in like a big bay, and that's Point Lookout, and that's Tweed, and we're here. And once you get out to around 60 metres, or 70 metres, you're getting past those 2 points, and then the wind picks up and the swell picks up and everything changes. So just remember that. That's right where the fads are on all that, on the 36s. So it can change drastically when it's a bit shitty. Yep. Okay, I'll just get the safety stuff out of the way first. So we're going to plan our day. So, okay, we're going to go put some deep divers out first, and then we're going to switch to, like I said. The other thing I'd do, well, in my trolling gear, I'm trolling with actually, I don't know if Jake hasn't brought them up yet. A TLD 20 and 25 is supposed to bring one of each up, but he might wait for the guy to still turn up. Anyway, I'll show you a bit later. But a TLD 20 to 25 is the biggest selling trolling rod and reel, okay? They're just durable and easy and pretty tough. So, and they last a good 10 to 15 years. And a combo, like we got a combo tonight, I think they're $2.99 for the 20 spilled up with a wine on ready to go, and about $3.19 for a 25 on a good rod. Here comes Jake now, just on cue nearly. Did you hear us speaking?
No.
How'd you go with old mate, Jake?
Probably
You could get a hold of him? No.
I
Okay.
got one of them.
Oh, you did? Yeah, okay. He's on the way?
Don't know, I got a thanks, mate.
Okay, thank you, mate. So Stewie's holding up the TLD20 there. So if you've got something in that size, that's just like a general troll type rod. And we run 15 kilo on that one, and on the 25 we run 24 kilo. But in your lines, if you've got something like a Penn Senator, Penn 330 GDI, or if you've got the luxury of a Talica or Tiagra, it's even better, they all work well, okay? Rods, maximum 7 foot when you're trawling, preferably around that 5'8" or 6 foot, so a really good size. A little bit of tip action, so when you're trawling a deep diver, you want to see, should I hold that for a sec, buddy? So your tip should be working quite hard like that when you're trawling. If it stops, you got weed on there, it's a general thing. Even when trawling skirts, it should be moving a bit, but it just stops, you got weed on there. Just like when you're trawling little lures was flathead, same deal. So you need to wind it in, get the weed off, chuck it back out again, okay? Always remember that, because a lot of people waste time, even including myself sometimes when I get talking with my mates, and you've been trawling weed for heaven knows how long, and the fish don't even want to know about your lure. So that's just keep an eye on your rods all the time, make sure they're working. Other thing too, if they stop, then one's bent more than the other, that's it, you got tangled up with your mate, the other rod. Okay? Then when they all stop, it's a big trouble. Scissors. Big problem. I recommend having maybe different colour lines on your line so you know which one to cut. Because when they're all green, it's like very confusing. So the other thing we do is I have a spin rod, at this time of the year I have a spin rod set up, something like this fella here. So this is 8 to 12 kilo, it's a really nice stick, it's Shimano. It's a new Shimano Miravail 5000, but something in that 5,000 or 4,500 to 5.5, maybe 6,000 size, say pen or something like that, is the go. And we're running 30-pound braid on there and about a 30 to 40-pound leader. And they're always set up with something like that on it, like a metal spinner ready to roll. And when the birds don't start working till about 7, so when that sun comes up and the birds start working, if this is a fishing mainly inside of 50 metres, you get a lot of bait schools. And when the weather allows you to do it, when it's blowing 20 knots, it's a bit hard. But when it's blowing no wind or up to say 15 knots, you should be able to metal cast. And when you see the school fish, always go upwind of it and come back down with the wind, and they always work into the wind, you come down with the wind, so you go upside of it. And it's a lot easier to cast with the wind behind you as well, and spin metals. And when you get close enough to be able to see, if they're jumping, they're little tuna. If they're zipping, they're spotties, which is what you want. The spotties out here at the moment are huge, they're like 1 metre, 8 kilos, they're big ones this year. So yeah, they're really good. They're not the little ones we normally get, they're the big ones, they're like Spanish size. That's the first batch that comes through. And the next batch, I don't know what they're going to be until they turn up. But many people got sort of combos like that sort of thing. If not, we've got plenty, okay? Something like that one's quite a good one. They're about $3.99 spilled up, but they're only about $600 retail. Yeah. So have a spin rod set up with metals on it. Have 2 probably set up if you got it. And you've got your 3 or 4 trawling rods, okay? Lures, so I've got my spin rod set up with metals on it. I've now got my clips on my trolling rods ready to go. I'm going to decide what lures I'm going to trawl. As the same as earlier this year, I'm going to trawl the deepest lures I've got. They all seem to be down deep, so 6 to 8 metre divers, getting them right down, okay? You don't want to go too, like if you go crazy like a 40 size in a...
Like an X-Wrap.
Yeah, an X-Wrap or something like that. It's hard work. You've got to trawl them on 50 pound for a start minimum. And they really pull hard, and it's a bit of an overkill, if that makes sense. Probably really good for big dogtooth tuna up north and that, but for out here you don't need it. So keep your lures small.
Clear bibs or silver bibs?
Clear bibs. Metal bibs are okay, like your CD Rapales then okay as well. They just don't get down deep enough though. They flick off more light and stuff like that, but generally I'm talking about like the going here, they're downstairs though, but like CD Rapalas, they've got the metal bib. So the metal bib actually flicks off light, which is a great thing, a bit like a witch doctor teaser. Problem is the mackerel have been down deep, they only get down about 3 or 4 metres. The Helcos, that's where you start at, they get down about 6. And then you get into stuff like, there's a new, I'll pass these around actually. Thanks, Stu.
That's right, mate.
The new, we haven't tried these yet, but I know they get down deep. The new Venoms, they got like a really big platform bib on it, and they get down probably around 8 to 10 metres, that little tiny thing there. And I'll kick butt. Expensive those things, because they obviously work. The 2 lures I wanted to show you, we don't have any left and we can't get them because we sold out, but I've got a couple there I think in the Samaki pacemaker. They get down about 8 to 10 metres, they're really good and they smack it. We will have more hopefully later next week. We'll do the same deal when they come in, guys. And there's another one which is we're also waiting on to come in, is the Strata Trucker. Yeah, so they get that's our biggest seller. They get down about 10 to 12 metres. They're only about your price around $22 or $23 a pop, and they work really well. And they've got some really good colours. They've got Stu's cold trout colour, as do the pacemaker. Yeah, good calls.
Yeah.
So, if can you guys see this board from the back down there? I'll try and every time I do this, I never have time to buy dark pens. It's not a conspiracy to let you guys, hard for you guys to see, but I never have dark pens. But if this is your boat, so that's your boat there. Most boats have a little rod holder straight at the back on the corner, and they'll have like an angled one further up here. If you've got a centre console, it's normally around there somewhere. And some boats will have a straight one, and they might put those which are meant to turn up as well, but they haven't turned.
Hook'em came. We've got some downstairs.
Oh, okay, they come in.
A rod rigger.
Yeah, rod
so it
rigger.
actually like spreads your rod. It's instead of using an outrigger, they're
like-
quite easy to use.
Like that style there, and you drop it in your rod holder, your rod sits in there, and they sit flat outside like an outrigger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, there's some downstairs. Yeah.
Yeah, so your rods sit out like that. So if that makes sense, so your line's actually like that. Like that. But anyhow, get back to the placings of the rod holder like the gentleman was asking. These ones here, the first rod, this one here, is going to be, I normally put actually the closest one behind me here, the shortest. So if I'm running a deep dive, I'll drop it back about 20 metres or 25 metres the first one, but it'll come down to about 15 metres behind the boat.
And if you've got different depths, can they throw in there?
You can, but put your deepest ones at the front.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
keep it closest to the boat.
Yeah, deepest closest.
Do you judge them on your pulse wave as you go along?
Not so much on mackerel, it's different to the skirts. Yeah, so I just place them where I know they're not going to tangle up, so to speak.
How are you picking when you throw 25?
Well, that's the beauty of using
yeah.
coloured braid. If you're using braid, you just drop back 2 colours. But you get to know, I watch it on the surface. So from the time I'm letting it out, I'm watching it going back. I never take my eyes off it. And I know roughly, don't pull on it, because once it goes underwater, you can't see where it is. So I watch it, and when it's 25 minutes, I click it straight in the gear, and it just goes, and goes straight down. So just that's a little tip, yeah. But in saying that, you drop these ones out first. So your furthest one goes out first, and your closest one goes out last. Because otherwise you've got to drop it out through the field, if that makes sense. And that's when a lot of people get their lines caught up, and they just put the rod holder and they're ready stuffed before they even start going. Yeah, so I'll drop out, this one here is going to be my most furthest one out, guys. So that one there, if I'm trolling deep divers, I'll probably drop it out about maybe 50 metres.
Yeah.
50 metres. This bad boy here is going to be out around 40. This one here is going to be around about 30. And this one here around 20, 25. Let's probably back a bit further, sorry. About there. But they're all going to come down. So that one there is going to come back to around here. This one around about here. This one around about here. And this one around about here. Because they dive down, right? So it'll be probably 15, 20, 35 and maybe 28 or something like that behind the boat. You don't want them too far back. It's too hard to get the fish in. It's good though if you got, and it's too hard to get the lure and get the weed off, by the way. So it's good if you got a one fish on. So if, say that one there hooks up, and I've got all these ones here, I'll probably fight him and maybe bring in this one here, but I'll leave those two out, trying to get another fish on.
How long was it?
Oh, that's a good question. Normally I leave them all out till the time I sort of slow the boat down, so don't pull it right back to neutral, whatever you do, please. Pull it back to about 1 or 2 knots, so you're doing 6 or 7. Don't just go straight like that to 1 knot because your mates will headbutt the front of the boat. But just drop it back about probably 4, 2, 1. If you've lost maybe 80 metres of line in that period, depends how you set your drag. If you set your drag too tight, it's going to be really tight on there. You may pull the hook out because you're still going quite fast and rip the hooks out, or you may snap your line if it's too tight too. If it's too loose, you may not set the hooks and he's ripped off 150 metres in that period because it's easy for him to swim away fast. So you've got to have that feeling that I always set my drag at, when I'm trolling for mackerel, about 5 kilos or 4.5, 5 kilos. That's quite strong. So you sort of grab it and it's quite tight to pull off, but you can pull it off. And you get, when you get that feel, you know it's right and it's working for you. Try and remember what that feels like for the next time, okay? Otherwise get a set of spring scales and set it all up. But around 4 to 5 kilos on any line, 15 to 80 pound, 15 kilo to 37 kilo, it works through that whole field for mackerel.
Do you back it off after you fight, when you're fighting?
No, I don't.
Still fight it?
Yeah, sometimes you click up a notch if it's, well, it's a star drag a bit tighter. If it's going to, it could be a wahoo, so it might be going out a long way. Especially when I get 3 meters of braid on. Yeah, so I'll crank it up a bit. But when I get the fish closer to the boat, so the gentleman asked before when you bring the lines in, if that fish has been a good boy and he's staying out around here, I'll keep sitting on 1 or 2 knots, and so many times we've caught the fish over time at that speed, leaving 1 lure out or 2 lures out. I won't leave 3 out. By this time, hopefully my mates pull that one in and maybe that one. That one's just out the back there. Fish is over here. If he wants to go that way, he'll probably go under my line, so it won't be too bad.
It's not like 4 fish on and 2 bugs in the boat.
Yeah, I've done that many times. That's fun. You just leave, in that case, we did that this year quite a few times. Not bragging, but seriously. And you just take the closest ones first. Nothing more worse than when you grab the wrong rod's got the biggest fish on. And the other fish are on there, a bit smaller, and you've lost them because they've just fallen off. So whichever one's going hardest, the furthest rod out, I'll leave them out. I'll get the closer one first. If the one out further is not screaming as loud as the other one that's in closer, I'll take that one. I'll try and get the smallest fish first, how's that sound? Or the closest one. Because it is a problem, but if you keep the boat going, and it's best when you hook up, and I've saying this to the last lot of people, when you hook up to try and turn the boat in with the wind behind you, if that makes sense? So you might be trawling against the wind when you hook up. You need to spin the boat around, not real fast, just a big arc, otherwise you run over these lines out the back. And then get the wind with you with the 1 or 2 knots that you're doing. You'll pick up maybe 2 or 3 knots, and all your lines stay straight. If you try and fight it into the wind, it becomes a big crap fight because the boat's trying to, especially a bit rough, it doesn't want to track forward straight, and it's really hard. So turn the boat as you're hooking up slowly. Unless it's a glass out day, that's fine, don't have to worry about it. Okay. So getting back to the multiple hookup, if there's 2 of you on the boat, yeah, just hopefully another one that hooks up. If it doesn't, get a couple of lines in, maybe leave this one out, this one here out further, because when you get close to the boat, these are going to be a pain, and they're down deep still. That one there's not too bad.
So your short ones up first.
Yeah, short ones up first. Yeah. Because when you get into the boat, they're the painful ones. You can sort of go around that fella, go under over. They are a bit of a pain, the rod those there, if the fish get out to get your line under. If you got your rod sitting and they're sitting flat low, right? So your line's low, and when you got a fish on and it goes outside the boat, it can be a nightmare. When the rod's sitting up in the rod holder, and the line's a long way out, you've got this line all the way out, and it gets plenty of room to swim underneath it. Okay.
You can go under it, pass it over
Yeah,
it, whereas
that's-
this is holding it out quite a long way, but it's not too bad.
Not
but,
too bad.
yeah,
Oh, but it's a little bit bad.
Some, yeah.
But they're great to use when you're trolling.
Yeah.
Do they have the pins in it so you can lift them up and down?
There's some of the ones we
do.
do have, the better ones we do have, yeah. Yeah, so any questions on that at all, guys?
If you're going to switch to skirts, you just switch to your riggers.
Yeah, correct. So this is from daylight or dark until about 7, or maybe 8 at the latest. If there's a high tide at say 9, I might even keep trolling at 4 hard bodies till 9.
Yep.
Okay, but after 9 o'clock, they're definitely gone, and they become skirts on the end. They're skirts, so they're the skirts here. You can bring them in a little bit closer because they're just going to be on the top. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So they can come a bit closer.
The sun's pretty high this time.
Yeah, it's pretty high. So, really good mackerel bites right through, or it's definitely the best bites from daylight to 7, but a lot of good bites till 9. Yeah, the bait becomes, it's inactive
Yeah, it's-
before 7.
It's more active after.
7 and 9 is when the bait's active.
Yeah.
And the bird's active, and you can see what's going on. And the fish become a bit active too in that period. But after 9, you'll get bait skills and that sort of stuff, but the fish have already fed or they've dissipated or whatever.
So it's
Yeah.
like deep water, so that colour sort of starts to come up.
In deeper water, I guess the sun brings the bait up. I don't know. The bait fish hate dark. I think they're scared.
So the mackerel generally feed pretty hard on that daylight. And that's 'cause they maybe
The Spanish do, not the spotties. Oh, spotties do at times, but
If you get
Spanish.
sleeping bait fish, they smash them asleep.
They probably do, yeah. One of the mates probably got one eye open, honestly. But but the bait fish they feed, I think, when the sun's up as well, and they all just, I don't know where they come from. You don't see much on the sand. All of a sudden, there's bait everywhere. You know, they don't go under the sand.
Dispersed, but then they come together.
They do come together. That's probably the reason why. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it's now say 9 o'clock. So it's between 9 and 11, say. So I'm still going to troll those deep dives, like I said, maybe up to 9. I might keep going if there's a high tide at 9 or 10, whatever it might be. And I'll keep these deep divers down and the skirts going. After about 10 or 11, unless, like I said, last year we went out sometimes at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We knew the bite period was at 2, and we just troll hard bodies, and we get 3 hookup or 4 hookup, you know, on deep divers, so 4 deep divers out. But others, I know you probably hear on the thing a lot of times on YouTube. One of my favourite times is 2 hours after high.
So is that when you get like the late moonrise?
Yeah, moon rising or moon setting. Yeah, so 2 hours after high tide is always the case. Okay. So if it's high tide 11, and then I would, unfortunately, you were saying today at 1 o'clock, mate, didn't come on the bite, but normally that's the case. Don't know why it didn't happen today, but yeah, because high tide today I think it was about 11 or 12. Yeah. Anyhow, so then at 11, these all become skirts. So if I'm trawling for dolphin fish and not so much marlin, I'm going to run these back a bit further. So I'm going to have maybe 35 metres, 50 metres, 60 and maybe 60 and 70. So fair way out. Okay.
Just back to the deep divers.
Hmm.
You get, like, is there between those time frames, is there a different sort of colour, like darker or?
Yeah, good question. No. It's a bit different to, like when you're trawling, I like the dark colours up closer, like purples and stuff like that in skirts, and I like lighter colours at the back because it's easy to see. But your mackerel lures are down in clear water swimming. It doesn't matter where they are, they're swimming, they're deep diving. So it's really clear water, and it's the colour that they, like Stewie's bloody coral trout thing.
It's bright orange.
By
but I
default,
think the biggest thing is
it
like,
worked anywhere in the pack, didn't matter where it was.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
a lot of the time when there's dirty water out here, it's only on the top section. If you speak to any diver,
that's
all
right.
the dirty stuff normally floats.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hence another reason why deep dives work so well. Well, the water at the moment is very clear, except the northerlies a couple of days ago, it was a bit yucky. But so when it blows northerly, guys, it rolls the water over. You get caught, they call it the Coriolis effect, and it pushes up against the coastline, and then it rolls the water over. And that's why you get all the sea lice, and you know, swimming in northerly, blue bottles rock up, and sea lice are biting you everywhere. it's because the northerlies turned all the bottom crap on the bottom to the top. I'm not quite sure how it works mentally, but I can't imagine how it works. It's like when dams roll over, the water comes from the bottom to the top. Same scenario here. It only happens on a northeaster. Okay. But when it's a southerly blowing, it pushes all the warm and clear water right into the beach. And that's why best fishing is when it's out here when it's blowing southeast or east, southeast. Westerly is just a horrid wind to be in more than 2 k's offshore. It's ugly, rough. Good surf, yeah, it gets cleans the waves up. But yeah, so getting back to the colours, it depends on what they want in that season. So it might be all orange, or I'm going to pass some colours around in a minute actually to show the difference. It could be black or it could be purple. Purple's normally pretty good.
So you run like a mix of colours.
Mix of colours, 100%.
If you
Yeah.
catch a fish on that colour, you sort of swap the others.
That's right. So, but I always make sure I've got 2 of nearly every colour, and then if that's the happening colour, it's male going straight away. Yeah. I like it. It's too expensive to carry 4 of every colour of everything, you know. But 2 is generally. No. I'm looking at the wrong person. I should be looking over here. That's right. But yeah, you need to have at least a couple of your favourite colours. Yeah, because it can make the difference, you know. Yeah.
But Doug, are you running teasers with both the skirts and
No, so that's a good question too. I run no teasers when I'm running the hard bodies because it's just it's in amongst, it's too much trouble because they're diving down in amongst the teasers sort of thing. The second thing is it's a bit more action when you're trawling for mackerels. When they're on, so you don't have the time to keep deploying the teaser and bring it back in all the time. Yeah, and the 4 lures are enough, I think, or 3 lures. But when I'm trawling skirts, 100% have a teaser out of some type. Even I did I bring one up? Yeah, this one, I did. So we'll get a bit later to it, but this new lure from Mackerel is actually a teaser lure, if that makes sense. So if you just want to put one teaser out, that would be it, but it's also the lure as well, with a hook in it. Sorry?
Really more of those?
Yeah, we have, yeah.
Like daisy chain or?
Daisy chain, yeah, the daisy chain one. I'll come to that in a moment, we'll pass it around. So we'll go back to the hard body. So trolling hard bodies, so this is what we do. So we've got the morning, we decide, okay, we're going to troll hard bodies. What I do, I never put a lure on my rod till I get out there. It's just too dangerous, guys, in the dark. Like if a rod pulls that rod rack and you step on it or something like that. I did pull a treble over my leg last year this time, but if you ever watched that, you'll see how it's done. That was a 3.0 on the lure, on the same Helco as that size there. Up to the weld. Just got to have a few drinks before you do it, before you pull it out. Yeah, it comes out easier. Bloody hard. Seriously, if you does everyone know how to get a hook out of their body? Like to get a hook in yourself? So a treble's hard as got 2 in, like I had 2 in. If you've got 1 in, it's not too bad, and a single hook's not too bad as long as it's not a 10 or a 12 or something. But what you do is and don't use like 30 or 40 pound, you need 100 pound, because 30 and 40 pound, you're pulling that hard, it's that hard to pull out, it actually cuts through your hand. So it needs to be 100 and get a couple good wraps on it. And you push down on the hook, a little whiting hook you don't need, it's 20 pound would be right, but if it's this sort of style we're talking about, sorry, just watch the video. But you push down onto the shank of the hook at the eye end, push down, and you pull on the other end around the hook, a couple of wraps around the hook, a couple of wraps around your hand, push down and quick pull, just a quick pull, and it comes out. But when it gets to a 3.0 size, that barb's obviously probably got about 2 or 3 mil variance from the barb sticking out to the shank, and you've got to rip that back through. And if it's got intendants or something like that, it's quite hard to pull it out.
cut off as the edge when you get home.
We can do that too. I didn't want to go back home though, because we just hired the boats over there for a week.
Yeah, when you get home.
Oh, when you get home, yeah. Yeah,
Standing off the back.
you could do that too. I'll do that once. But anyhow, you just got to push down on the. Yeah, take super glue is a good thing. Yeah, push down on the eye and pull on the shank quick up, backwards. Okay, so lures we're going to go deep divers. Colour wise, we're going to have about 3 colours, 3 rods, but don't all put all in the same until you work out what colour they're feeding on. Okay, put 3 different colours out. Divers, I'd go pretty well nearly all the same depth, but if you want to run 2 different ones, always run your deepest ones in close and your shallowest ones out further. Okay. Size-wise, good question too. Normally biggest to the front, smallest to the back. And the smaller ones obviously don't dive down as big as the bigger ones. But like most of them, actually I'll pass that around too. That's a new Helco colour. It's a really nice colour. Most of them have like a different bib to. Does everyone understand how bibs work for depth? So when a bib looks like this, if that's your lure, and your bib's like that, that's a really shallow diving lure. Okay, and as that bib progresses more out this way, it's going to get deeper. Then as that bib gets more space on it, it goes deeper again. So does that make sense? So the more the bib's in line with the lure, the deeper it gets down, the more bigger the space is on the front of the bib, the more deeper it goes again. So just remember that, okay? That's in any lure. Little one, big one, doesn't matter. So we're going to get the biggest bib ones for the front, and we're going to get you can have all big ones, of course, or you can run the smaller ones at the back, like we were saying before. Yep.
Do you normally try and cover a couple of depths?
I don't, because I'm looking at the sound. It's really important you watch your sounder. And for those of you who don't know, most of you should know, that's your sounder there. And this is the bottom here, comes up a little bit here. And I've got a bit of bait up here. And this might be 0 to, say, 50 metres. And that's about 43 metres there. And this bait's sitting at about, around 28 metres down. And my lures are getting down about 8 metres, so they're swimming along around this depth here. These guys, and the mackerel will sit on top. I'll just be like lines like this, guys. The slower you are, the more longer that line looks. The faster you're going, the more short it looks. Okay? In the boat. So if you're doing 12 knots in a good sounder, you'll just look like little dots, like little lines like that. If you're doing trolling dead baits and you're doing 1 knot, they'll become quite long. And they're the mackerel sitting on the bait. There might be some down here too. And they'll easily swim up to grab that lure. You don't necessarily have to troll through the school. As the season progresses though, they will switch to bait, so they don't want to know about lures much at all. Talking like sort of March, April. And you will need a downrigger to get down that depth. Get down 28 metres or whatever. Okay?
So that bait will sort of sitting up high, sometimes
Which is,
shallow or
yeah, no, so use a deep one, they'll go down to it or up to it or whatever. But that's been the case this year. The bait's been more up here, and that's why there's been the yellowfin and everything in amongst it with it. And some guys about 2 weeks ago were catching 4 different fish in one pass. So you can yellowfin, Spanish mackerel, spotted mackerel, and maybe a dolphin fish or a male at the same time on one troll pass. I haven't seen that for a long time, which is really a good start to the season. Yeah. Okay. You've got to learn to read your sounder, and if you haven't got your sounder dialed in well, if you're getting lots of bobbles and you go more than 2 or 3 knots and it's really hard to read, you really need to fix your sounder up to get a better picture. Because it's like, I don't know, it's like driving past and that's the milk bar. And if you don't see that milk bar and it's hiding behind a tree, you never know what's there. You just keep driving past. You need to be able to see it. And you've got to be able to see that bait school come up. And then see the fish on the bait school. Okay?
So when you're trolling along, you see the bait, do you double back around on them?
Yeah, I do. So that's the next thing, GPS. So your GPS, like so, and I don't know, that's north, this is east over here, south, west, and this is maybe spread out, say 2 k's from here to here, and I've got a mark here, another mark here, little fish there. I've got some good fish in that spot. That's number 14, whatever. They're little icons. And what I'll do, and that's like I say in 2K, so that's nearly a K and a half from there to there. And I'll just sort of come along and I'll troll over there. I'll look for bait in that area. I'll go along here, bait in that area, go along here, check the bait there, and I'll go to here and check the bait there. And if I haven't got a strike at those 3 places going that way, there's no way I'm going to possibly do that way again. I'm going to go the opposite way. So I'll do a Yui and I'll come back and I'll go near the same area again and I'll just see if I get the strikes going that way, because that's how it is. Sometimes I don't want to bite that way, only that way. You've got to work that out.
Is that sort of like into the sun, out of the sun type call?
No, it's, I don't know if it's the way they're facing in the current or the way they're, just the way they're schooled up and they're facing all that way. I haven't worked that one out yet.
Do you find, someone told me once that when you try and roll the shadow of the boat underneath, depending on whether you're into the sun or out of the sun,
Yeah, it could make the difference, but you're down, and shallow diving lures I can understand, but when they're down fairly deep and it's back a bit from the boat, it should be irrelative, yeah. So, and let's just imagine I'm going this way now and I get a strike, okay? I get a strike on, I've just gone past here, and I get a strike going that way on this spot here. So by the time I've turned my boat, the wind's blowing this way from the north, I turn my boat like that, and I've drifted, and there's a bit of current and a bit of wind, and I'm going plus 1 or 2 knots, and I've finally got the fish in here. I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to go back and do that again. So I'll come back to here, and I'll do exactly the same run again. And if I get another fish, I'll just keep doing that run. I may go this time over this way, and I'll just work it. I won't flog it on the one spot all the time. And that only might be 50 metres, but they might be over here too, stacked up. And I haven't gone over there yet, so I haven't had a look, you know. But if I don't get in on those 2 runs there, I'll go back around and I'll do that run there again, but over there. But when I go back, if say I didn't get a strike and I've gone back all the way up to here, I think, okay, what I do now is my favourite mackerel spot. I normally smack them there, you know. So I'll go back around, and this time I might go east to west like that and go through my marks like that. And then I'll do the reverse again, east to west, if that makes sense. Because sometimes I only want to take it going that way. And then, yeah, you only get every second one, so that's always a tricky one, that one. Sometimes I do a loop and go back through it, each one like that, and go a loop through it. So I get the pass each time around it. Does that make sense? So I'll do go like that, and then I don't get any hits, and then I'll go up to the next one, and I'll go like that, and just keep going like that, if that makes sense. Nearly doing a 360 every time I go to the spot. You just got to work out which way they are. And many times, especially down Mermaid's one of those spots where I find the only bite if you're going north, from southwest to northeast, seems to be the best run up at Mermaid Reef for mackerel, Spanish mackerel. Out the front here, it's normally, especially the Diamond Reef, it's normally a south-north, running south one. You'll get them going north as well, but you get a lot more going south for some reason. Yeah, depends on the current. Sometimes you get the current runs what we call uphill, which means it runs north, which is normally against the grain. And those days it'll be the other way. Okay, it just depends on which way the current's running. It's normally running south. Any questions on that at all?
Depends how wide it's out, but in place it's sort of well, I guess.
Inside of 50 metres. Inside of 50 metres. Any other questions, folks, at all on that? All good? Okay, cool. Okay, so I've been doing this, and this is another scenario, and before I go troll my skirts, I've got a couple of fish in on the hard bodies, and the sun's come up and there's a bit of activity happening on the surface. So you've got to decide then, do I keep trawling or do I maybe have a bit of fun and cast lures and just do half an hour casting? Okay, so there's not many guys that do it out here, but I remember years ago, David Green and I we used to spin down at Mermaid with big metals and other type lures that didn't have much range back 10 years ago, as you do now. And we'd spin metals for mackerel in that sort of 60, 80 gram size. in that sort of size or a bit bigger. Actually, Raider 85s we used to use, and they work really well for Spanish mackerel. Actually, a bit bigger, sorry, that size there. And let's pass that around, Steve. And that one. And you just drift with that area I had before. I just drift over the whole lot. If the current's going that way, the wind's blowing me that way over the top. We just start at one end and just drift and cast. And the bait will be in the area as you're going along, and you work the bait skills. And but there's now guys like Rue, one of our customers. He's really good at using stick baits out there. And last season he smashed it on stick baits.
A lot, yeah.
And a lot of big fish, like 20 kilo ones. So it's only new because you go out North Queensland, everyone does it. Come down here, no one does it. Everyone just trawls.
Upgrade the hooks on that?
Yes. If you're using say 50-pound braid, yeah, but just 30 would be right, but not 50. So mackerel, yeah. So like the chance, a lot of people do ask this question about ciguatera poisoning. There's only been a couple of cases like that of ciguatera poisoning. Stewie's had ciguatera poisoning, but it's from coral trout.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a
Once
emesis,
you got
right?
it, you got it. Once you got it, you got it. And that's it.
It turns into a coral trout.
Yeah, should be right.
But
Yeah.
on the Spanish mackerel, there was a bad one a few years ago. It was a big fish. It was around 30 kilos. Caught down at Palmy, and the guy gave that little streak. They all caught. Anyhow, that was bad luck. Oh, slugs. No, 85's enough. Yeah, enough. But with the stick baits we're using quite big. Yeah, we might use something like that size there. You know. Yeah, I'll pass that around. But I would be casting more this sort of size myself. That's why probably that sort of size. You know, in the. Yeah, so just ripping it. Yeah, and just like a popper, and ripping it. It'll sort of dart like that through the water. Keep your rod tip down. I'll sort of on an angle. Yeah, depends how you do it. Some guys do it down if they're standing up high on the deck. If you're down low on a 12-foot tin, you can't really do that. So just keep it on an angle, 45 or something like that. But I wouldn't be doing it under 50-pound braid or maybe 30. But on that size popper, you want a big one. If you're using the little ones though, little stick baits like that, I'll be using 30 or 50 to have a bit of a buzz, you know. It'll scream when the hook hooks up.
I guess you're using a smaller reel, so you want a heavier weight to not let them run too much.
That's right, but little reels these days are so packed to drag. Like that little thing there's got like 11 kilos, which is like a Tiago 50, you know. It's like crazy. So you can really give it to it and actually be careful not to break your rod or your line. So that's the beauty. Everything's downsizing and getting stronger.
All singles, does that?
Okay, yeah, that's a debatable one.
Sorry.
I'm a treble guy, even though I get them stuck in my leg. But single ones are obviously more safe. But the hook-up rate, I have to say, is not as good, I believe. And I've done a lot of popper fishing overseas and that. And if we switch from trebles to singles, the catch is like 1/3, I believe.
Yeah.
For me, it is anyhow.
Still same strike, but just not as many.
Oh, they still get strikes in that, and actually maybe more, so it's better through the water.
Swims a bit better.
Yeah, but your hookup rate's really hard.
Yeah.
Has anyone noticed that with trebles and singles? Anyone do a bit of popper stick bait fishing? It doesn't really make much difference. You either go 2 or 2. Yeah.
I switched.
You switch back to trebles? Yeah, exactly right. There's some beautiful stick baits out now, guys. Like, you just know they're going to smash it. It goes on and on and on. When we talk about dolphin fish in a moment, we use little smaller ones, which I'll show you a bit later. But that's the sort of size I'll be using on the Spanish mackerel. Spotties, spotties are too crazy zipping that. Like Spanish mackerel are a bit different. They'll come up and they'll feed. Spotties are just like forever, like zipping through the water and annihilating lures. And a lot of the time, your lures just hit the water and just sinks like 10 centimetres and it's bitten off. Because it's that one little flick of silver light and it's just like, and they just bite it and it's gone. So I don't mind you guys using expensive stick baits, but I'd suggest just using metals on spotties. I don't use to.
Yeah, I've always just spun with metals.
Yeah. No.
Nah.
No, That's the sacrifice part. You get a lot more hookup rate if you just use like 30-pound fluorocarbon or something like that. Yeah. Like guys say, okay, and we say too, fluorocarbon is definitely stronger than mono, but it doesn't stop mackerel teeth. They just bite through it. Yeah.
I just find a pretty thin, a short piece of pretty thin single strand.
Yeah, so that's all right. So there is, and actually Helco do it now. They do a little 15 centimetres, 6 inch.
Yeah, it's like a little bite trace with a clip on it.
Yeah, it's got the little fast clip on it. Such a great idea for spotties. Yeah, so that'd be fine, but don't use a big piece of wire like that, you know. Yeah, just a bite trace. Yep. Yep, that's it. Yep, that's fine. Yep.
With your stick baits, suspending, sinking.
Yeah, so probably suspending to get a longer cast. A lot of unless you've got a bit of wind behind you, maybe. But they'll also work better in a bit of rough water as well. Yeah, so and the Spanish are on the top, but most of the time they're down about 1 metre or 2 metres. You want to try and keep it's different to say a GT or something. You want to keep it below subsurface. Yeah. So I'd just say suspending most times. Yeah.
Do you get, with the sinking ones, do you get, I've seen a bit of it up north and that as well, letting them sink, so just throwing it out, giving yourself a count, 10, 15,
Yeah.
and then ripping it back up through the water column?
Yeah, so gentlemen just asked at the front, you guys, if the, when you cast out, do you like count down to 10 or whatever and let it sink down maybe 3 or 4 metres before you rip it back? Yes, if the bait skill's down deep on the sound, you can see it on the sounder, or if there's not much activity on the top, but you know there's mackerel down a bit deeper, I definitely do that. Then you can go to jigging. But you got the same problem with the metals when something's free falling and flicking. You won't even know it's got bitten off until you go to wind it. Yeah. It's just so sharp. The bit of wire, Spanish has got quite a long mouth, and Wahoo's even longer, and they'll just bite it off. You won't even know it's bitten off even with that much wire. Yeah, you might get it picked up, that's right, yeah. So my suggestion would be only do that if you know it's all down deep, and take the chance. Yep. Probably on that, I'd use like a PE 3 to 5 rod and like an 8,000 size reel if you want to really do the Spanish justice. A 5, that one there might be a bit small, but good fun, and definitely work. But you're gonna P3 on 6,000 will be all right. So when we're talking PE line, guys, we're talking the thickness size. So the old days PE3 was 30-pound braid. PE3 was like every PE was 10 pounds. That sort of worked out. Now the lines got so thin, like a PE3 can be up to 60 pounds, so it's doubled, and it's only 30-pound diameter. Go back 3 years ago, so in diameter. So you can put a lot more line on a little reel and fish hard. And the drags and the little reels allow you to do that. So that little reel there, you can put probably, it's got nearly 300 metres of 30 on there, but if you've got a real thin one, you can probably get nearly 300 metres of 50 on it, and 260, something like that. And you can fish it to the full. No, the better quality ones don't get much wind knottage. They're so smooth now. It's nearly like mono. You can't feel any wrinkle anymore. Yes, they're getting too good. They cast so far. Yeah.
They can use a loop knot or put a clip on.
Yeah. So if I take the chance without wire, I'd just do a loop knot. 100%. Some guys last seminar we did, they asked about does the loop knot pull through the split ring. I've done a lot of lure casts. The only thing I've had it happen maybe twice. For, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of casts. So it's pretty good odds, I think.
They break, so just tie it straight on. I hate loop knots. But anyway, yeah.
That's another debatable thing. He doesn't like doing loop knots. He likes to tie it with the uni knot straight to it.
Like at the end of the day, I don't think tying onto a metal is going to give you any more action.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Well, the stick baits are big enough. You're not going to get any more action out of the loop knot than you are straight
Yeah,
out of the uni.
and that's fair call too, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you've got a ring on there, that's the same.
They don't all have rings on them. A lot of these actually just have the eyelet at the end. Oh, this one has a split ring. Yeah, fixed point. Yeah. Yep, that's fine. And also, as I was saying, the lure's that heavy, it actually pulls itself anyhow. It'll make the action. I love them, but that's me.
Yeah, I love them, but I just can't, I don't drive long enough to.
Yeah, you got to, on when you're using like 60 to 80 pound or 100 or 130 pound, you've got to use pliers and pull the tag up really tight and hold the other one at the same time, otherwise it sort of bends itself around. It doesn't do anything. Yeah. Okay, any questions on that at all, guys? On the casting stick boats and stuff? All good? Okay, so we've maybe had a bit of casting and maybe got a fish, or maybe it's not happening. And now it's like 9, 10 o'clock. I'm going to switch to skirts. Maybe I'm going to get a bit wider and chase some dolphin fish. So if that's the case, you've got clips on your lines, and I'm not running any wire on my hard bodies. No one asked that question. I just run either a loop knot or a tide or a snap. And snaps seem to work all right. All the time I use snaps, especially with my kids, because it's just easy. And they always want to change lures. 5 minutes or 10 minutes of trolling, nothing. They're trying to tell me to slow down so I can widen the lure up and change another colour.
What type of snaps?
Yeah, so
Hawaiian snap or like?
Just
no,
like a ball
none
bearing
use.
roller
Hawaiian
snap.
snaps have sort of died now. Just a ball bearing. I'll see if I can pass that around. If you're using like 50 pound mono or 30 pound mono, that's about the size. If you're using 50 pound braid, the size 4 is big enough. So the quality in the strength's pretty good. Like size 5 is about 50, 60 kilos, size 4 is about 40, 50 kilo. They're quite
Straight
strong.
snaps or swivel snaps?
Swivel snap. Swivel snap, yeah. If you get, braid's not too bad, but it does twist, but mono really twists. If you get a piece of seaweed on it and you haven't got a ball bearing swivel, it's got snap, it like does macrame all the way back to your reel.
Nothing will hit it while it's spinning like that, is it?
No.
Do you think the stainless snaps are worth the money, or you change the glass ones often enough anyway?
We do have stainless as well downstairs. Look, they're not much dearer, they're probably worth it, yes. They're
They're
about
stronger for their size.
Yeah,
So you can get
half,
away with a smaller snap.
half the price again.
Especially
Yeah.
the spotties, the smaller the better. Like, often when
Oh, you can get a little
snaps and things with the spotties, they just want to touch it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, keep it small. Okay, so getting back to our skirter lures. So I'm going to say, okay, what am I going to use for my lures? So when you're trawling skirts, especially with dolphin fish, it is a colour thing as well, what they're feeding on the day, what they like. But generally, it's sort of purples and pinks and greens. That's the popular colours all the time. And most of the purple type ones we're running in fairly close. And, sorry?
I just want purple.
Purple, yeah, so purple is easy to see in amongst all your white water.
I just find that the dollies like the pink,
Hmm.
the mackerel like the green, and the wahys like the purples. Like, as a basic rule.
Yeah, probably about right, but they all eat everything. They all eat everything. Out the back of the pack, I've got something like that, or that sort of colour there. Okay. And then closer, it could be a super dark colour like that.
Do you change up your type of skirts you run?
Yeah, so like I'll generally trawl for I'll give it about an hour, and if there's bait there and I can see fish jumping every now and then, or someone else catch one, I'm 100% going to change my skirt colour. Or skirt. Yeah.
Yeah, head type as
Yeah,
to where you
it
put
does.
it's a big thing.
You know, in theory, you should use short heads close, long heads far.
Can you expand on that a little bit?
You can, totally. So that happens with our customers that come in the shop. They'll say to us, I caught marlin, show us the pictures, and you go, what lure to get it on? They show you. Oh, do you have that at the back? No, it's in right at the back of the boat. And it's a long head.
What's the difference?
Pink.
What's
Shorter ones, the shorter heads create more bubbles. They push a lot more, make a lot more bubble. So it gives it a bit more volume to the size of the lure in
Like white water,
white water
dirty water
situation.
Yeah.
It needs to look bigger in there, and only try little lures, so you get the lure bigger. So I'll use a jet head or use a pusher that's going to make a lot more bubbles. And when you get something like that, there's just a slant head. It's going to do nothing in close. It's going to just pull along through the water. But at the back in the clearer water, it's going to be doing its little dancing and making creation that way. Thanks, mate. Yeah, that's right. Correct. Yeah, correct. So bubbles, they make bubbles. Yeah, a lot more active. And the colours, obviously, the darker colours easier to see in the white water. but as I said, we get guys who'll troll that colour up close to the boat with a long head and smack it. So everything goes goes out the window. So my situation, what you're talking about, mate, would be after an hour or so, if it's not happening, just forget the rules and change it around a bit. Yeah, wing it. Yeah, and then a lot of guys do that. Like a lot of guys in game fishing have their 4 or 5 lures that they run in a spread, and that's it. They don't change it, and they don't get fish for the day. They don't get fish for the day. And then other guys are changing every 15 minutes. They might not get a fish for the day. It's just in the right spot, and the fish are feeding. I think they'll take anything that looks okay, presentable. But there are certain colours that I believe in. I like the evil colour, which is that sort of colour there. It's always been a good worker for me on every species of fish that's a pelagic. And I can run it at the front, and I can run it right at the back as well. Seems to be a really good worker. Peter has a lot of faith in his prints, and we have a lot of customers have a lot of faith in prints. Anyone use these yet? Caught fish on them yet? Yeah. They are quite a good lure, and Pete's philosophy is, even though he sells all the other colours, is if you run one of those, you run 5 the same style, colour.
Just different heads, yeah.
Different heads, correct. Short head front and a skinny head back.
All the same prints as he said.
All the same print, that's right, yeah.
So they're close to the boat, you run the flash.
Yeah. Yeah, we got the packs downstairs. You can buy like 5, a pack of 5, the different heads, and he even shows you on the diagram where to place them, and that's the philosophy of like the people that just troll their 5 lures for the whole day and don't change anything. But that's boring for me if they're not happening. I want to change it around a bit. A bit longer than that. So getting back to the dolphinfish, so you got your lures spread, you got it happening. So we're going to go, you're either going to stay in close where the bait is, and we tend to get a lot of dolphinfish between the Seaway and halfway up South Stratty inside 50 metres. And good ones, I mean big ones, okay?
Like
They're just
outside of the fish boxes? Like
from the fish boxes, from the fish boxes. Actually, I put them out in front of the Seaway, but
yeah.
from the fish boxes out to about, say, 50 metres. 30 to 50 metres.
Yeah.
I love the fads. That's a bit further out though. So we fish between 30 and 50 metres.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is we are looking for bait. We're looking for free swimming marlin, and we're concentrating on just trying to find money bait. That's what it boils down to. And what we call that out in the paddock. So there's nothing really hold them on the bottom. There's no fad. There's no reef. It's just the bait's there and the fish are there with it.
That's speed fishing at the fads, and that's still the dollars.
Lots of dollars out there, yep. So if that's what I'd be doing at 30, 50 metres. But when you get nothing happening there, and there's no bait there, and it's not really happening, you've got to go out further to fads and fish that 36 fathom line or the 50 fathom line.
Do you find the dollies are schooling, or are they more the solitary larger fish that you're finding in
The
that
ones in that area, they can be schooling on bait. There might be obviously more than one, and you get quite a few sometimes. But generally, it's solitary fish. Yeah,
area? Bit bigger normally too.
bit bigger. Yeah,
Generally, yeah.
1.2 metres.
Big bulls, big males, or big females?
Both. This year's been a lot of big females. Has anyone caught dolphinfish this year? Have you noticed they're mainly big females, full of eggs? Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing, eh? Yeah, I think I might have got 1 bull this year so
Yeah,
far.
I got one bull,
Mm.
the rest are big.
The rest are all big females, yeah.
If you're finding a school of them in that, because I've come past a couple in that 30 to 50 metre line. No success, but are you trolling around the bait school?
Yeah, so if I
around, like-
find the bait, I always go round first.
Yeah.
And as the gentleman at the back was saying today, if it doesn't work, go around, just go through them. But you go around them, and it's the same deal again. You've got to try and work out which way they're feeding and do a couple of laps this way or that way, just go around it.
Clockwise, anti-clockwise,
You get do both. It does make a difference, yes, it does. You've got to find out which way they're feeding.
Will you go clockwise or anti-clockwise first?
I go north-south first, north-south around them sort of
So it
thing.
depends on which way you're
Up and then come back down again.
Yeah.
And maybe go down the other side and then try around that way and outside, but at the end just go through the middle.
Yeah.
You give it about 4 or 5 passes on that school, nothing happens, you're out of there.
Yeah.
To the next one. Yeah. But always keep an eye, this time of the year, like the other day, we were out there, it was 2 weeks ago, that we passed 3 free swimming marlin while we were catching dolphinfish, but it's on the way back in, And it just looks like two sticks sticking out of the water, just like that, like two little sticks. Has anyone ever seen swimming marlin? So it's like, yeah, like little sticks sticking out of the water. They sort of move around like this in the water. They're about that far apart. And they're marlin. And if you see that, obviously don't run it over. Go around, put your lures out, try and bring the lures back in over, and they'll always turn around and go over it. They don't know spirit. And they'll take it. And again, just to put your pattern out, get it all ready, then come back in the area it was. But try and keep an eye on or mark in the GPS where you saw it. And they'll generally stay on the top for quite a while, even sailfish too. They'll stay on the top for quite a while. Then after a little while, they'll dissipate and go down.
So they'll generally hang in the one sort of spot as well, so if you see there's a market.
Yeah, like when we go spanner crabbing this time of the year, not we've been in the last few weeks because of the weather, but down off sort of Q1 area, there's a lot of marlin in that area this time of the year, and just inside of it, inside the spanner crabs in about 40 metres. And we'll drop the pots out and then we'll just trawl that area, but you'll see them free swimming in the area, generally where our pots
And
are.
you're not holding on any particular structure?
Not really, no, they're always in that area.
Just that area,
Yeah.
just the bait fish.
So from focus reef out to the fad net, more or less,
Yeah,
so to
right,
speak.
yeah.
Yeah, which we'll talk about GPS marks in a moment. But getting back to the fads are probably a little bit more tricky to fish because there's normally a lot of boats there. That's my pen. So the fads, this is north here, okay? And that's the fad, and that's obviously south down there, and that's west. When you see the fad, you won't get many bites south of the fad, okay? It's always north of the fad. Just remember that. And it'll be in...
Was that just the currents ripping to the south, so that line's heading north from it?
Yeah, that's right, correct. So that anchor line is like up that way, and probably the anchor's down here somewhere. And all the stuff they put off the rope is probably in this area here. And you'll get your fish in this sort of area here. Okay?
Yeah, when you spirit,
Yep.
you sort of jump in about 100 metres north
Up
of it
and come back down?
past it.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
And as you come into about 20 metres before it.
This is the major strike zone, this area here. Yeah. So a lot of guys will just go up to the fad and maybe here and cast there or cast here, whatever. It's very hard to pull them off in that situation. But when you're trawling, a lot of guys might just trawl they might be out east and they're trawling northwest, and they'll trawl this past this way. You might get a fish here, but you'd be lucky to get a fish. But if you sort of go like this way, come back down this way and do your circles, that way you get most of your strikes probably on this side. You will get the odd ones here going that way, but most will be going up into the current, I find.
You tend to go up and down past it or across it?
Well, I try and work out the same scenario which way they're biting, but this year it's all been that way. I don't know how you guys, any guys trawled the fads this year? No, no one's done it?
Yeah, north,
Yeah,
definitely north.
trolling north? Yeah, it's 100%, isn't it? So, and other times I will get them going that way, but this year it's been that way. Yeah. And another thing I've noticed with dolphin fish this year too, if it's blowing northerly, definitely trawl. They seem to bite better in the northerly wind, right? And you're trawling against that choppy crap, but that's just the way it is. But when it's blowing east or southerly or no wind, they don't know much about trawling. They want bait, live bait or dead bait. Okay.
Sorry, Joe, can you say that again?
Yeah, so if it's blowing northerly, trawl your skirts. And the reason I found this out is it's happened to me a couple of times now. We'll go out and it's blowing northerly and we'll bloody bait fish, and then for 2 hours we'll cast lures at it and casting lures at it. And then someone will trawl past and double hook up. And we were the only boat there, and then someone's rocked up and just caught them in front of us like that. I was like, crap. So then you put the lures out, trawl north and double hook up, dribble hook up. They're biting their heads off.
Like instead of bait, would you cast?
Well, I haven't got much casting this year. Last season we smashed at casting. Yeah, but
Off the fad, would you patrol it?
oh,
Trying to tuck it in
I
pretty
try not
close.
to get too close, but I'll start out wide and I'll work my way in closer.
Okay.
Never go in close first.
That bloody bit of yellow paint on the side of the boat.
Can get that. But no, start about probably 100 metres out or 50 metres out. Most of the fish will be within about 30 to 60 metres out.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bigger ones. The little ones are always there, close.
Yeah, so
But you
it's
want to try and get bigger ones. Yeah,
further
big ones out
on the
further.
surface.
So anyhow, sorry, Stu.
This is pretty ideal if you're the only boat there. If you're trolling and there's already boats spot locked all over, you've got to kind of work in with them and troll around them and do all that stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a hard one. It's kind of on
So-
the day. You want to try to be the first one there, but you've got to be early.
And just another thing too, guys, what we noticed this year too, as I said, when it was blowing southerly or no wind, and we've trawled and we've got jack crap, and then someone will pull up and chuck a pilly out and hook up again in front of us. And it's like complete opposite of what we just did 2 days earlier, you know, because the wind changed. So just keep that in mind next time you're out there, guys.
The time, like bite times really for dollies, or just sort of
Early morning, first boat.
same thing? Yeah.
Like, I was shocked. I was telling Stuart the other day when I went up there. Like, we went through the sea about 10 to 4. We got up there, it just cracked light, and it was like, I think it was about, I might have been 4:30, I think. 36 is northeast.
Yeah.
FAD 14. There was 6 boats there or something.
Already.
Yeah. I look at it and go, I thought it was that Palm Beach Reef. I thought, jeez.
3 o'clock in the morning, there's already 20 boats there.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's bodies.
They were there all night. But yeah, so you just got to persist with the boats there, and most guys, if they don't get anything doing the technique they're using, they'll disappear and they'll just troll away. But then another 2 boats will rock up. And please remember, if you in the vicinity, a lot of good bottom fish around the fads too, by the way. So if you go inside to catch snapper for a couple of hours, and the boats have all nicked off, put your lines back out again because they'll be there. They bite all day, those things. Yeah. They've asked about the times.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so there is a morning bite, first few boats there bite,
Yeah.
after maybe 6 or 8 boats. So I was talking to a couple of guys that fished in FAD 13, which is the one out in the 50s, northeast of the Seaway near Spot X, or just north Spot X. And that was on, was it about 4 or 5 days before Christmas, Saturday or Sunday before Christmas.
Yeah.
And Sea Pro was out there too. There was 8 boats there, and the guys trawling got a few, but the guys using baits, again, it wasn't very windy that day, it was really good. They smashed it. So they're using dead baits and live baits. Yeah, they did really well. So 8 boats can fish at the same time, they're all hooked up. When they're on, they're on. Okay? And they're all big fish out there too. Okay, so any questions about that at all? All good? Okay, cool. Okay, so marlin. So you can, sorry guys, I meant to say you can jig at the FAD. I use slow pitch type jigging like that one there, Stewie. That type of outfit. Something very light, very good fun. Spin or overhead doesn't really matter. But running jigs, yeah, like this sort of thing, I'll pass a couple of those around too. 40 to 60, 80 grams. Yeah, little. And drop it.
Light rod, you get those to work at that size.
It's just like you don't need to don't have to go fast. It's very slow.
Yeah.
They're happy with slow.
Yeah, it is a lot easier because the hooks on them are so small. So with the light rod, you don't pull as many out.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you've got the dolphin fish in there, when you got those 8 or 10 boats that are in a FAD, if you look on the sounder, you will see them on the sounder down about 30, 40 metres down. That's when you jig. Or you can drop, if you only got your metals from your mackerel fishing, drop a metal down. Just drop anything down and have a crack. Yeah, just slow pitch it. Yeah, bring it up. And that'll work. And then if you can get them to come up, you can chop up heaps of burley, heaps of pillies, and try and obviously throw it out, back up the top end there, 100 metres up, and come down with it. And then you could actually maybe try stick baiting or soft plastics, which we used to do.
Yeah.
So there's not much happening when you get one. Do you leave it swimming for a while?
No, like there's a lot of people say tether to the back of the boat, they'll come around. They do come around, but you just cast by getting another one and they'll come around again. So the best thing to do if you've got 3 of you fishing and you've got 2 rods in the water, try and keep it a bit more simple. The third guy, when the 2 guys got a fish on and one's got a fish on, someone pegs out a bait or a live or a metal at the same time, and his mates will grab that. Yeah. I wouldn't tie one off the back of the boat
No, no, not
because you got
the
you.
tall one, but wouldn't
Yeah.
that first
Oh, just holding in the water. Yeah.
just
Like,
play it
yeah.
longer than you normally would.
Yeah. No, get him in the boat because they'll fall off otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you're down to zeros, donuts at that time. If you got about 10 in the boat, you maybe might try it. Give it a crack.
You don't want to be the one taking longer, because then Dougie will catch 2 and I'll only have 1. It's got to be quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Teasers for dolphin fish are really good, guys. So, as Pete says, and we've had a few customers tell us, when they're particularly witch doctors and that they'll actually come off the fad and follow the witch doctor. Okay. And, yeah, drag away from the fads. Yeah. And we've got a few customers say the same scenario. Okay, and you can actually just keep catch them in that on your lines, like the Pied Piper. Yeah, not all the time, but sometimes. Yeah. You guys in your bag, you've got a triple strip, which is this fellow here. So, oops, sorry, can't see that. I'm guessing where it is. Thank you, Stuart. That thing there, okay. So in the water, these things are very glistening and very, very good. And you've got one of these rubber squids here, okay. So if you rig that up behind that with, you've got leader in your bag as well, which is we use on the marlin lures, but you can rig it up with this as well. And just have a little swivel at the front here, put your line through, crimp a bead on here so they can't go any further down that way, if that makes sense.
You run it before the strip, not after it?
I'll run it before the strip, that's right. And then you want to probably run about, I guess, 60 centimetres from the squid to here. And just crimp on a loop on the end of that line and then put it on the snap on here.
So that's a surface teaser?
Surface teaser.
Okay. I thought they were more of a dredge type situation.
Oh, no, they work very good. So the original strip teaser that first came out many, many years ago was just like that type of system. And then they incorporated onto dredges and changed. You can put, you can put it down a bit, but there's a fair bit of weight in that. You can put ball sink, like put an 8-ounce barrel in there if you wanted to, but I prefer to have it. They work better when they're sort of on this, like an octopus coming out of the water, going back in the water, like sort of semi in and out, and not just under the water. Yeah, they work better. They roll around better and glisten better. Yeah, have a crack and play and see you go. And then off the front of that, on that loop on the front there, or you swivel whichever one to use at the front there, run around about sort of 3 to 5 mil cord or 6 mil cord with a big snap on it, and just snap it onto the front. Okay, and that's on a little hand reel or whatever. Yeah, so it's on a little hand reel. Put about 15 or 20 metres onto the hand reel and drop it back about 8 to 10 metres. So it wouldn't be as far as the back of the room. There'd be probably wouldn't be to that marlin. Actually, it'd be gentleman in the red shirt, sort of 5 metres back, 6 metres. Yeah, keep it close.
Yeah, I always run my lures a bit closer than Dougie, but I always just run the teaser just inside the closest lure. Yeah, a couple metres.
But that will get you fish, 100%. So just try it, especially dolphin fish. So that's what I'm getting at. And marlin. Any questions on the dollies, guys? Okay, you all good? Okay, marlin. So who wants to catch a marlin? Probably a few of you do. Who hasn't caught a marlin? Most of you haven't. Okay, so marlins, it's a bit of a buzz and it's spectacular. Like dolphin fish are spectacular. They jump and they're beautiful to look at. They're beautiful to eat, and they're beautiful to take a photo too. Marlin a little bit different. Marlin fight even probably harder. The big bull fights harder than dolphin fish, but marlin do a lot of jumping and they're very fast. Okay, so a bit more action that way. They're generally bigger and heavier as well. The size at the moment can vary from 4 or 5 kilos, a little tiny one, to 120 kilos. A few big ones been caught in closely. One of the blocks, 100 kilos.
Yeah.
So there's some big ones around too. It's a lucky dip. You don't know what you're going to get on till you hook it, and when you see it jump. And a lot of time you see it, it'll be hooked up and your line's screaming off, and it'll be jumping, and in the distance you think, oh, it's about 20 kilo. But when you eventually get it and you're tired and you get to the boat, near the boat, it is growing bigger, and it might be 40 or 50 or 60 kilo. And that's why it's so hard to get to the boat.
What's your sort of percentage, sort of mix of what's out there, like, you know, like blacks, blues, stripes, like
Blacks would be 98% at the moment, with a 2% of stripe maybe. In close. Yeah.
rare occasional blue?
Yeah, around Spot X, but not till around about late January, Feb, on to about April.
When the
They're coming
temperature comes
closer.
right up.
That's all right.
When the temperature comes right up.
Yeah, when it's about 26. Yep. It's 20. Well, it is 26 out wide at the moment, but it's been fluctuating about 25 at the moment in close, which is it's warmed up really quick. That's why we were getting snapper 2 months ago or a month ago, and it was like 21. Then all of a sudden it went up, and there's a lot of warm water coming down at the moment.
Has it like come right in close?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so as the current picks up, it gets in
Stayed
closer.
out the last few years.
It has. That's why we've had cold water for a long time. Yeah. But so the marlin guys, it's exactly the same lures as you do for your dolphin fish. The same. You're just fishing a different area maybe. Although they are around the fads as well. They're feeding on the dolphin fish too.
You got bigger for that marlin?
No, that's still going to catch you a 100-kilo marlin. Yeah. Oh, you might. We do sell, particularly, so the fishing, it's hard to say. The fish at the moment are like smaller, right, with the odd big one. Come late January, Feb, when they're around a bit further at Spot X and the 100-metre line, they're bigger. Their average size is probably 60 kilo, and the odd 100, 120 kilo fish. And you up the ante to that size, you know, a bit bigger. It's the same scenario, dark colours in close, lighter colours out back. Same placings in the distance, you may be a little bit closer. You're running the first lure not far behind that the first tease you got, okay? And just working from that. And speed, same speed, 6 to 7 knots. It's just, you've got to be a little bit more wary when you're fighting a marlin, as in they'll go deep, where dolphinfish don't go deep, they stay up top generally, okay? So marlin will go deep sometimes, and the golden rule with marlin is to keep up current of him and try and work him to the top. So if you just play it when he's in the current, you're fighting in the current, he'll stay deep. So big pecs, black marlins, they can't fold their fins in, they just sit out like that and they glide in the current, and it's really hard to get them back up the top. The only way they come to the top is if you sort of get up current of him and give him a little bit of, not slack, but just a little bit less tension, and he'll feel a bit relieved, and he'll come to the top.
Do you drive off on him?
Yeah, drive off and go up the other side of him.
Yeah, so
Yeah. Change the angle, that's right.
try and
Yep.
bring him back up. Don't
And that's the hardest part with marlins, to get them to the top. Once that line goes loose, you'll all of a sudden it'll start going loose. You've got to wind really fast to keep the tension on it. The great thing about marlin is they have an uncanny habit of they're there and the line's over there sort of thing. So there's always tension on the line, even if you haven't got on your rod. You think you've got tension, you're fighting over this way, but the fish is actually over that way. But it looks like your line's out that way. It's the big bow on the line. How they do it, because they're so fast in the water. And it holds the weight on him the whole time mostly.
So a little bit deep, you sort of drive off to get a bit of a vertical bow.
Yeah, he'll feel less tension and he'll come to the top and start jumping.
You're finding that less with the braids though, because you troll with braids.
Yeah, I do troll braid a lot, and like I've got a lot of billfish on braid. When they're at the top, I find it easier, faster, and you can get them in a bit quicker. But when they're deep, I find it also good. There's less stretch, so you got a bit more power in him. The only part is you got to have a tip that's a little bit soft, because it's too aggressive. You can pull the hook out or straighten the hook. That's why we use a wind-on leader, which you guys have got in your bag too. So we haven't talked about those either. Does everyone know what a wind-on leader is? That thing there? You've got one in your bags. If you don't know what it is, it's you do a little bimini twist at the end of your line, and then it shows you on the, what doesn't show on the back of this one, we'll show you, but you thread it through, you pull it through your end of your little loop on your braid or your mono, and then you pull that little spider hitch down tight onto the bottom of that green piece of stuff on the top there. And then it's 6 metres long, right? So if you're fishing game comp, we cut that back to about 3.5, because you're only allowed 6 metres in light tackle comps overall. But when you're just fishing like us, just going there and having a fish, you leave it on there. No, very short double. Yeah, very short double. You clip a snap onto the end, which is a snap going around before, and then you hook your lure rigged up. So that lure there, I only run like about 800 mil tray, so I'm not really short. Peter Pakula and other guys, they'll run like a 3 metre leader.
What sort of pound trace you
The ones in your bag, 130 is what we're
130,
trying to
yeah.
use. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the size fish we're catching, that's enough. Yeah, yeah. 200 max.
So what sort of pound, the wind on leader, I've been running 60 pound,
Yeah, so 80's okay, 100's okay. Yeah.
but trolling around for the marlin and stuff, and step it up to more
100's good. It's
just-
it's a bit heavy because if I'm only running 2 trolling rods.
Yep.
Two trolling rods.
Yep.
And I've got multiple setups for different styles. I don't want to be putting panels on all the time for different styles of fishing.
Yeah, no, just run 100 on that big.
So run 100
Mackerel lure,
'cause that was,
or 80 or 100.
I ran 60s to start with, thinking
Yep.
I'm going to get
More bites to get the lure swim better or whatever. Yeah,
The deep
it's minimal. If you're using little lures like that, it's a big thing. When you get lures like this, they do their own thing. They pull the 100, yeah. So the idea of the whole thing, guys, is the weakest point is actually your main line. It's only 30 pound or 50 pound. It's not 100. So that's never going to break or chafe. It's going to be, that end's going to break first. But the idea of it is when you get that fish close to the boat, you can put get a couple of wraps on your reel of that 100 pound or 80 pound, and then you can actually get stuck in and get that fish close enough to gaffing range, not talking marlin, but say a big dolphin fish or a wahoo, whatever. Or you can manhandle and trace it in, put the rod and rod hold if you're single fishing. I just put the rod holder, quickly drop my drag back, not to free spill because it'll get ripped out of the boat when it gets a big tangle, but just back enough, and then I'll quickly grab the leader and pull it in and gaff the fish. So you can actually, 100 pound doesn't cut your hand when you're handling a fairly big fish, generally. You should actually wear a glove. When you get a marlin, though, it's a different scenario, so go back to the marlin now. When you do get it close to the boat, a few things you've got to watch out for. Your little boat or you're on a jet ski. How many guys here are jet skis? Yeah, I know you are, yeah. A few of you are. So you'd be really careful, guys. You're at the same height as them jumping most of the time. And they do have a tendency when they're a bit under stress or whatever, especially striped marlin, they aim you up and charge you. So just be careful, okay? As I was saying to the gentleman earlier, I'd have one hand on the throttle if you're getting that close point. So if he jumps, just take off.
I've got a hand for the trace then.
No, true, yeah, that's true. But just be careful. But when you're in a tinny, same scenario, you're very close to the water. We've caught marlin that are charged us and jumped on just like landed between me and my mate, and the bills just missed us. And other times they've jumped actually into the boat and on the boat, and pretty spectacular. Yeah, no, that one's not, they're on YouTube. But yeah, it's been pretty good. So, so you've fought the marlin, you've got it within proximity. Look, if it's dead, I wouldn't say waste. I'd say bring it home. They're really good eating. They taste like wahoo. They're white flesh. Has anyone eaten marlin here before?
Yeah.
Yep. You know what it's like?
Is there a size of marlin?
No. And marlin, at the end of the day, are just like.
I'm just saying if they're like dead, is there any issue with taking them in size? Like
No.
if they do not happen to die in the fight, you can take them.
No, there's no size
No.
to it, and there's a 20-year-old bag. It's crazy.
No, I wouldn't recommend it, especially the guys on TV. But guys, at the end of the day, I probably would keep maybe one marlin a season, only because it's been hurt and dead or whatever.
Yeah.
And or bitten by a shark, maybe a spot X especially.
Yeah.
And they taste fine. And they're just like a brim or a flathead. They're still, when they have babies, they have 10,000 babies. There's 10,000 little marlins around.
Yeah.
They're the same, and that's why there's so many of them. Sometimes they're just prolific.
You don't get shunned by others if you take marlin home?
Oh, you do on Facebook, by the Warriors. But at the end of the day, they're good eating and really good smoked, as you know, especially from New Zealand. Everyone smokes marlin over there. So yeah, they're great eating fish. But you know, I try to teach. From my kids when they're little, when they first catch a marlin, I've always taught them to try and let them go. But we do keep one if it's hurt or dead. I'm not going to waste it.
You say you eat marlin, it's like saying you eat koalas. You know, people you eat a marlin.
That's it's a very good, it's an analogy, or what we call it. It's a very good yeah, similarity, isn't it?
Comparison.
Yeah, comparison,
We
yeah.
had fishery bought us at Reedage and we had a marlin in the underfloor, you know,
Yep.
with ice in it, had the bill cut off and the tail cut
Yeah,
off.
yep.
And fisheries looked at it and he's going, what are you going to do with that? I went, "What, really? Like it's like a slurry, mate."
Yeah, that's
It was
right.
only about 2 metres long,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, only skinny little bloody thing.
Yeah, yeah.
We'd never eaten one before, we thought, oh, we'll keep one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They were asking us what we're going to do with it.
Yeah.
Find the size makes a difference on the tasting, like smaller ones better.
No, okay, the big ones have a fair bit of mercury in. The biggest one we've ever kept and eaten was my brother once. He got about 180 kilo blue and it died. And Paul said, "Oh, we'll take this home." So we did and carved it up. It took us about 2 hours to fill it, bugger. And it feels like this thick and this wide. And it tasted not too bad. Like, we didn't eat lots of it because I was a bit worried about the mercury thing. But I think at the end of the day, if you go to, like, you know, Cook Islands or Namibia or wherever, they'll eat probably 300 kilo blue marlin, you know. And they're all live, so yeah.
Yeah, anything big.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's like eating a big cod. They're nice. They're still nice. Don't overcook it though. Yeah. So guys, it's up to you guys on the marlin if you keep it or not. It's your own discretion. Okay. But just getting back to, we've now got this fish beside the boat. They will sometimes take the odd, especially stripies, they'll jump out and have another shot. When you do at that point, I would suggest that you have a glove on your hand. It's a bit hard, you've got time to do it. But if you ever grab a bill barehanded, they'll just rust. It's like, I can't really say, an orbital sander with 80 grit on your skin going flat ball. Like a bastard foal, you put it like that actually, get in on your and going hard at turbo speed. It just shakes right down, and you take your hand off, and it's just like little red blood dots everywhere because you take all the skin off. So it takes a long time to heal. So use a glove on the bill, okay? And if you want to take it out of the water, a lot of the guys, we do all our photos now, just holding the bill over the side of the boat, take a photo, say cheese, and let it go. Exactly right. Up to you. Your own discretion. But like, to me, I look at them, if they were getting extinct and rare, I say let them all go, but they're just like any other fish. They have lots of babies and there's lots of them out there. It's up to you guys. But they're frowned upon like the koalas, eating the koalas. We don't do that.
I like ground puffing on my whale.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Don't eat whales either. Okay guys, so any questions on the marlin at all? So it's just the same scenario, same everything is what you're doing, the same speed. It's just a different kettle of fish, and you're looking at, you're looking for bait, you're looking at birds, and in that same school of fish you might catch dolphin fish as well. Okay.
Drag setting.
Yeah, drag setting. No, I'm still running like, if I'm fishing 8 kilo line, I'll use 2.5 kilos of drag. But if I'm fishing 15, I'm always running like 4 or 5, even on 24.
Because Pete preaches no more than 3 kilos.
He's fishing mainly 8 kilo though, 8 or 10.
Is that drag pressure while you're driving?
Yeah. So there's different ways. Everyone has a different technique of setting it. I just set it by feel now.
Yeah, but like
So-
as a driver, it's obviously easy to pull out.
Yeah, that's right. You can do that, but if you've got light lines, when you be really specific about it, and you should do it at like a sort of bit of a pull off at a bit of a walking speed, if that makes sense. Maybe at trolling speed, say, at 5 miles an hour, whatever. If you just do a gradual pull up, it's not really the right scenario, and if you go too fast, it's not really the right scenario. Yeah, just a gradual, a boat speed, mate. You're right. Yeah, yep. But use the spring scale so you can actually see where it was, especially on your own. But if you've got a star drag reel, like a jig master or a Oshia jigger or
A torium,
a
or any
torium,
of that
whatever,
type of stuff.
you've got you understand you turn it one way, and then the next time you get it, if you get drop drag back a bit, you've lost it totally. So it can't reset itself back to the original setting. So you're forever using spring scale, so you have to learn just to feel and pull. That's why it's the best scenario. Yeah, so lever drags are fail safe. You preset it, and generally, even after big days fishing, it's still very close. Can't go wrong. TLDs, the one we showed you for the combos got the special, they're preset as well. Yep. Okay. Any questions on that, folks? No?
If you're releasing a marlin, do you normally have to sort of swim it?
Yeah, 100%, mate. Yeah, so let it swim it and just hold its bill with the glove on, because they do just shake a bit, and just 2 knots, 1 or 2 knots, just get that water in his gill, and when he's ready to go, you just let go, mate, and they'll swim off. They're fairly hardy. It's when you're live baiting though, even though a lot of them are circle hook, they tend to throw their gut out more. Because I don't know why. Then I don't have many marlin I've caught on lures that have thrown the gut out so much, but on bait fishing they do for some reason. Maybe they've had the bait down there, where the lure never goes down there, you know. But most circle hooks using circle hooks in that scenario, they're hooked in the jaw line. Nothing to with hooks, 2 guys on your skirts. The ones that we sell pre-rigged are very sharp. You must keep an eye on that they're always sharp. That bill is so hard and very hard to penetrate. If you go out there blunt hooks and you hook that marlin and he falls off, it's probably because your hooks are blunt, or your tips rolled over or something like that.
So you actually stone them like that?
If they're a bit blunt, I have a file on my boat all the time, yeah. And just I use a file, a very fine file, yep, or diamond file, yep. Any questions on that at all?
Do you need to set the hooks for the head?
Yeah, that's a good question too. When you're trawling, the boat sets the hooks, so to speak. When you're live baiting, no, you just slowly lift the lever up when it's running and just pull up the rod slowly as you push the lever up. It's already hooked as well. But when you trawling and it's taken off and you get a rod holder, when I got mackerel on, yeah, I give it a good go. But not with marlin. No, it's in there.
Like a steady go or a couple?
I'll give it a good yank. I want to dry those trebles in further. Yeah, because I want to bring that fish home. The marlin doesn't really matter to me. Yeah.
I know, but mate, it was a prop. He ripped the lips off anything.
Yeah, well you can do that. If you go too hard, you will do that. Seems to do that on flathead.
I was just going to say, you're the one that cost us a classic couple of years ago, but we won't go into that. Yeah. Nah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is, like, if you hook a marlin and just keep trolling at the same speed we always do, it gives you a bit of time to clear everything else.
Yeah.
Like, you've got, on those little TLDs with mono on it, you've got like 700 metres, like you don't need to rush. So it's never going to take all that. So you can just kind of keep on cruising, get your mate to wind in the
once you
teeth.
get 100 metres out, the weight of the line in the water will keep the hook set.
Yeah.
Unless it's jumping crazy, it may throw the lure. Don't ever drop your drag back, because that will maybe throw the lure. It'll take the pressure off, and don't ever sort of, like you see guys that back up 100 miles an hour, like a big game boat, whatever. All you're going to do is sink your boat, scare the guys in it, and probably lose a fish and run over your line. You don't need to do that. Just keep the boat going forward. Okay. Anything else you would add to that, Stu?
Oh, that's about it, yeah.
Any questions on the marlin at all? Okay.
Any specific ground you talk about spotting?
Yeah, I do. So I'm going to do that right in a moment. Cover the grounds as well.
Just on the wall, the big sort of plastic sort of sweet fish, you know, like a big soft plastic, and there's a bunch of over around the wall yard.
Oh, there's the flying fish from Nomad. Yeah, like, I don't know if anyone's caught.
Like a big plastic tube, there's a big fish.
Yeah, there's a squidgy blue water live.
Oh, that
like
one?
Probably,
Yeah, really good on tuna
Yeah,
down
it's a
south,
tuna thing.
but it's too heavy. The marlin will throw it out.
yeah, it's got weight.
It's too heavy in the weight. Yeah, where a tuna doesn't jump much.
Yeah.
Guys, I'll just go to this here. I'll just have a few little things, guys. Not for marlin, but you can use it for marlin. To some of you guys. When you get a bat, make sure you get you got to have a bat in your boat, especially with wahoo. And there was an incident recently, one of the charter boats, I won't say which one, but they had an accident on the boat with a mackerel, Spanish mackerel. They taking a photo, it fell down and got the guy's foot, and it was quite aggressive cut. And I got cut once on the side of my leg by a wahoo, just sitting out of the esky, because they're quite long. And was very deep and just, I didn't even know I'd done it. I just walked past and there's blood everywhere. So they're very sharp. Yeah.
Just pick it up and the gill just sliced the whole chunk out.
Yeah, and spotty's the same too, so it's very sharp. So just be careful. So you dong them, put them out of misery, and they don't attack you or hurt you. They still hurt you when you go past, but whatever. Good pair of pliers, make sure they're fairly long, don't get near the teeth, okay? And that's probably about it in tools. Fillet knives, make sure you've got a fillet knife that's got a bit of length in the blade or longer than that, okay? When you're filleting those bigger fish. You can do a little knife, but it's quite hard.
But don't do it in your boat.
No, it's slippery and messy and dangerous.
Fisheries will smash it.
Oh, will they?
Yeah, you got to have.
Yeah, well,
more
that's
fish
right, you
on the
do
way
now.
back.
That's right. That's the way. It's the new rule, isn't it?
Yeah. And the other thing is, it's always easy just to have a little pair of crimpers. Like all the skirts we can rig in the shop, but we can't always be out there with you. We'd like to be. But if you get a blunt hook or chafe lead or something, you can re-rig it pretty quickly. So all you need is a pair of crimpers and just some crimps that suit the 100-pound line that you use for leader or any of that.
Just other guys in line. So we talked about before about size of line. I said some lines get them so thin now. It's the same mono to braid. So this has been about 2 years. This one's made. It's a Japanese one. Buku. It's not expensive. It's good, but it's the same thickness for the next category down. So 24 kilos, the same thickness as 15 in most other brands. Okay, and 15 is like 10, and 37 is like 24. So you can afford to go on a smaller reel, the next size up, and get the same line capacity. Okay, and braid's the same scenario too. That's a witch doctor we were talking about earlier. That's one there. This thing, it under the water, it actually swims like a lure. It sits about 1.5 meters down, and it flicks off rays of light that would go way past with this building. And you look at it, actually gets your eye all the time. As do these things. These things here, if it's a glass out day and you're trawling those on your boat and you stop, slow down, you got a fish on, and you still got that in the water, you'll actually turn, because it looks like a school of bait fish at the back of the boat. It's amazing. Yeah, guys do that. Yeah, I actually bought, my Haynes I bought off a guy, I was 680 Haynes for about 10 years, a while ago, and he had that same deal under. I don't know if it worked any better or not. I've got a lot of marlin out of it, but I don't know.
No, you can see the marks on the boat where they were smacked.
Oh, I thought you said you had stickers. Well, mine has stickers of fish under it. Oh, you put the stickers on? Oh, okay, they smacked the boat. Yeah, yeah. I had a bill stick outside my boat once, but that's about it. Yeah. So, any questions on billfish at all, guys? So, just a basic on the billfish today, okay? We'll do more marlin one later. Okay, just in the areas of fish, it's really important that you guys understand. This is the most important of all. Knowing what you're going to do, where you're going to go, and how you're going to do it. So, those first lot of marks where it says tuna, dollies, wahoo, that also incorporates mackerel as well on most of that. So it's inside of 50 metres. And you can see it starts right up. I'll just show you this here too. I say this all the time. Yeah, that's what I'm going to show you now. So, that's North Stradey, that's Point Lookout. And that's Jumping Pin there. And that's the Seaway, Burley Heads. And that's Tweed Heads there. And I'm trying to find that darker blue one is true. Top, thanks one. This one here is what we call South 27. It's about, 27, 20, about 20, 22, something like that. Jumping Pin's about South 27, 43. And the Seaway's South 27, 56. Burley Heads is South 28, I think it's about 04. And Tweed Heads is South 28, 10. So from there down to, from this Point Lookout down to the Pin Bar is about because that's 21. If you add 21 to that, you get 43. So every one of those ones is 1 nautical mile. So that's 21 nautical miles from Point Lookout down to Jumping Pin. And 1 nautical mile is 1.8 kilometres.
So you're pretty deep straight up there.
No, not that one there. I'm going to show you in a minute. That's that way. That's the ones that run this way. That's called your latitude. Okay? And then now you got longitude. So that's the first number is always the south. That's your latitude. So when we look at 2741, we know we're just north of Jumping Pin. Okay? It's 2 miles north of Jumping Pin. And then we look at the east mark. And the seaway is on east 153.26. Okay, and I think Jumping Pin's similar. But when you go 153.33, you've gone out 7 miles east of the shoreline. Okay, so and that point there, I think my memory is on about. I'm trying to remember this. I think it's east. I might be wrong here, 153, I think it's around, is it? No, I think it's about 30, 31 or something. Or 30, somewhere in there. 31, I think it is. And the seaway is 153.26 because this is like, if you run a line down there, actually it might be a bit further, it might be 33 actually. Sorry, or 32. So if you're inside of that line, so you're on 153.33. Actually, you're on that line. So, and you're 2 miles north of Jumping Pin. So, that's that first spot, which is what we call Sully's. Okay, it's called Sully's. And then you go down further south. You've gone 2 miles south because you're near 2743. You're straight in front of the pin bar, and you're on the Cotton Reef. What we call the Cotton Reef. And then you come down further south. You're on that third mark down. It's like off what we call. It's more or less straight out from probably not Tipplers, but maybe Cooreen Cove or so. Yeah, about Cooreen Cove. And so from Cooreen Cove up to Sully's, which is around about 6 mile, 5 mile, so 10 k's around about, is a really good area to fish, guys. It's like, that's what I was saying earlier tonight. It's like marlin, dolphin fish out in the paddock stuff with bait, a little bit of reef. It's close, so if it's any west of the wind, it's pretty calm. And if it gets windy, it's not too far back to the seaway.
That's sort of half on between the 36s and the 50s.
No, it's inside 36s. Closer, yeah, closer. So that would be a really good area if you want to just troll and catch. And that's where we saw the free swimmer marlin the other day, in that same area on the way back. Okay.
Same sort of spot, but you go out past the 36s. That's probably sort of chased like the kidneys up there.
Yeah, that's down further. That's down further. Yeah. So as we come further south, the fourth mark down, that's out in front of the seaway. 2756 is the same line as the seaway. Okay. 57 is about off Narranack. 59 is about off Q1, and then so that whole area there is what I was telling you about inside of the FAD. That's that area. So that's a really good area to catch marlin as well, and dolphin fish, and really good area for mackerel. That's your mackerel area. Okay. Actually, all that's mackerel area. And then 2811, that's for the boys down at Tweed Heads Way. That's a really good area to catch dolphin fish and a few Spanish, and definitely wahoo and yellowfin tuna and stuff like that. Okay. Then the 60 to 70 metres, that's the reef areas that we trawl for marlin and dolphin fish as well, and wahoo. And 400 800 metres, you don't have to worry, that's out a bit further to get blue marlin, but where it says, the next row says under 50 metres deep, that's FAD 1, which is the one out of the seaway. And if you can see on there, it says 2759. And if you look at on the one opposite, that 40, 50 metre area, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down is 2759 also. So that's straight in from the FAD, that's what I was saying to you. Okay?
Is that bit outside of Q1?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, it's a really good area.
So between that FAD and Q1?
Yeah, that's right. Oh, it's a focus reef. Yeah, even a bit closer actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Casino reef's in that same area too, mate. Yeah, that 27.59, 153.30, 6 mark down. Under 70 metres deep, that area there is really, really good for, that's all your fads. So fad 14's where we're fishing the other day, getting the dollies. And then you got fad 12 and 12B and C, which is out the front here. And then fad 11, which is down south. Fad 11's a really good fad, doesn't get hammered much, guys. That's all sort of near Burley.
Question mark, is that a fish club?
No, that's a tricky one. That one's not on the fad report, but it's a fad that actually sticks out of water off Point Lookout. Oh yeah, Point Lookout 27.23. Sorry. Oh, no, sorry. That's about close to it. That's a fad that's off Point Lookout, but it's in deep water, and that's where they get the really big dolphin fish. You see the Casper and those guys, they're holding up 1.6 metre dollies. That's that fad. Every fish there is over 1.5 metres. But it's a 70k run from the seaway up. It's a fair run. Recommend boat size 6 metre plus. And a good day. And then the S fads are all the sunken fads, that they're out in deeper water. Sorry.
Right through South Passage to get to that one.
Yeah, so that's where you go.
Yeah.
It's about 20 something k's from South Passage out to the.
Not too bad, you just got to park.
Yeah, correct. Yep. That's where we go, if you're in that area. And then Tweed Heads fad, that's the one down on Tweed Heads. That's a really good one too, but it gets hammered a lot, guys. But it fishes really well. Now most of these fads are on reef, and you can bottom fish as well. Any questions on that at all, guys? No, you guys are all clued up, ready to roll. Hopefully.
With the number one fad, that's right.
Yes.
My limit.
Yes.
I didn't see much.
No. So there is marlin in the area, and there's dolphin fish, what we call inside of it, like in that paddock area, which is those marks to the left side. Yep.
That paddock area.
Yeah.
North,
Did you get any strikes there at all?
Yeah, I got the one marlin.
Yeah, good. That's right. That's where they are. So that's the area I'll be concentrating if I was you, mate.
Just on the edge, there's the southern edge of that reef, just
Yep.
heading towards the fade.
Yep, that's right. That's right. So from the diamond, and then south, the diamond reef's where you were, and just south of the diamond, in line with the fad, sort of heading south.
Okay,
Yeah.
south from this.
Yeah. So I got a little 4.8 metre tinny as well, and I hound that area of troll in study. Yeah, it's close. It's only 8-10 k's from the seaway.
Yeah, that's what I think. Like that.
Yep, that's right. And it's good spanner crab area too.
Sorry?
It's good spanner crab area too.
Oh, okay.
So just throw the pots out, get some crabs while you're trolling around. Yeah.
At what point are you switching over to start trolling dedicated to wahoo?
Okay, so luckily for us in the shop, we get a lot of intel, so we know what's happening. So as soon as I hear they're on, I'm out there, and Stu's out there. But generally speaking, I didn't expect them to be here this time of the year. It's very, very early. They're normally later. They're normally like March or April, end of the season stuff.
More
But-
deeper water?
And 50 metres is very good actually, around that fad area that we're talking about. A bit later, mate, very good area for wahoo. But they're getting them in close now, they're getting them all over the joint.
Yeah.
And some big ones too, like 20 kilo but in close.
Still
You know?
that big one on the
Some good ones. Yeah. So it's just everything's turned up, and that's what I'm saying. It's confusing. Normally you just go and concentrate on that one species, but at the moment you got to try your best at everything.
Yeah. 'Cause
Yeah.
then ultimately you'd rather troll a bit quicker. And
That's right.
get
Exactly. That's what I'm
that sort of
saying.
stuff, but
Yeah. So when the wild,
is it worthwhile doing that?
no,
You're going to miss out.
there's
on
not enough out there at the moment. No, you better concentrate on dollies and. So guys, I'll be doing Spanish mackerel now, my number one early morning, and as I said, then I switched to Spanish mackerel / dolphin fish, yellowfin tuna for a couple of hours, and then switched to dolphin fish and marlin.
You still get one
That'll be on my
of those
day.
slower speeds?
Yep.
Yeah, you still get about 6.
All 6-7 knots. That's it. That's speed. Yeah.
Do you still catch tuna on the skirts as well?
Yes, correct. But they love deep divers.
So
Yeah.
You whack up at 15 knots or 12?
No, as we were saying before, with the wahoo you do, but not for another 2 or 3 months. I wouldn't waste my time too much at the moment, just chasing wahoo.
Or if you're not getting anything, just give it a crack.
I can give it a crack. If you've got wahoo lures, like you've got a metalhead, I put on purposely a metalhead in your bag today for that purpose. It's only small, but it catches a big wahoo, and you control that at 12 or 15 knots behind the boat on wire.
The big big purple blade.
I can do that to control. Like actually, I
Trembler
didn't
style.
cover that, but
Yeah.
yeah, this time of the year, it doesn't hurt to have a. I'll pass these around too. A bibless in the boat of that proportion, depending light tackle, little one, heavy, 24 kilos. Yeah. No, they're a bit out of date now. No one does them anymore. No, they're good. They're like braid lures used to do a good one. Yeah, they're better. They got more action.
Yeah.
Tune like those? Yeah, they do.
Restricted to 2 rolls.
Yep.
Am I trolling 2 bib minutes?
Two
2
bib.
divers, or am I driving a bibless and a bib?
You troll and bib first up in the morning. 2 bibs.
And then maybe switch one of them to a bibless
Yeah.
if the sun
Uh,
a little bit higher for the tuna?
no, because you got to control those faster. So you'd run one of those with your little metal head guys in your bag at about 8 to 12 knots and drop them back about 60 and 100 metres on my back.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's 60 metres and the skirt's 100 metres, 80 metres back, 80 so. But it's specifically trolling for wahoo and tuna at that speed. I have caught mackerel at that speed, and spotties love that speed. They love being on the plane 12 knots. With that little pink one, that's really good for that lure in your bag, the metalhead one. But I don't really do it until I know it's happening. At this time, I wouldn't do it. But if you're ready for it, and as the gentleman said, if you've got it in your boat and you've got that gear and it's not happening, yeah, maybe rev it up a bit, drop it back a bit, crank the drag up a bit, because you've got to crank the drag up a bit, and give it a go. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else we missed, mate? Oh, we did talk about this daisy chain thing. So this is the teaser thing I was saying about. If you've got a little boat and you haven't got much room for a teaser, although you've got one to make up in your bag, this is accounted for a lot of fish. Has anyone caught a fish on one of these yet? Or anyone used one yet?
So you sold out last night.
Yeah, that's why we were sold out. Yeah, we're nearly sold out again. But they have the. This is normally how Stewie's lines look when we go fishing together. Have you been fishing with this one,
I'm a little bit quicker, but anyway.
You got eyes, actually. Oh, look at that, it's magic.
And you've got to have that knot in it as well.
Yeah, that's
Helps,
right. Yeah. Sabotage, I call it. So that's a lure. So in the States and other parts of the world, you can legally use this for game fishing as well in comps. In Australia, you can't. You can't have more than one lure attached to the line. But this sits on the front. It does the little splashing. It splashes off water. These things are moving around behind it. Last one's got the hook in it. It's the better one with the big jet head, and they just they go hard on it.
So you can use it, but just not for comp.
Just not for comp. Yeah, but definitely is for trawling.
And as long as there's only one of them hooked.
No, in a comp you could only have that lure on and none of this stuff at the
No,
front.
I mean, just without comp, what do you have?
Yeah, just you can't really set the hooks up on that, otherwise it won't work. No, but we had a guy the other day bought one off us. I don't think he's here today, and he actually cut it all up and he goes, "It's cheaper than me buying 3 lures," and put hooks in the lures. Clever man.
Would that be your closest lure?
Sorry, that would no.
Second rod out.
Peter reckons second one out, but look at the end of the day, guys, I think it'd work anyway.
They look really good.
Yeah, I've tried one the other day.
I
Yeah.
dragged one around the other week. The single skirt got smashed and that didn't, but
Yeah.
it's really good.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of noise. Still chugs around and moves around.
I'll pass it around,
Last
yeah.
lure, that last jet head pulls it around a bit.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be very good actually. Well, they do that in the States. They run like 2 or 3 of them off of Outrigger, you know. Yeah.
What are those?
They're 119. They come back to about 80,
85-ish.
80 bucks, 85 bucks, something. Yeah.
Oh, they're bloody $60 each, just
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what the guy did.
Yeah.
That's right. Not that I recommend doing that, but yeah. I think that's about it, guys. That's about it. Oh, just stowing stuff. Like a lot of guys say, how do I stow my lures? Generally, it's in a lure bag like so. Okay. That thing rolls, undoes, and you got little pockets in it. Some guys will put them into a soft plastic type bind like so, and put their rig lures in each one of those little bags. And some guys will just stow them in like that type of thing, and they can hose it out. It's probably about all I have to tell you about, I think, in those bits and pieces. when you're trawling too, just understand how much your boat uses. When you trawl for wahoo, that's really fuel guzzling speed. At 12 knots, you're sort of not on the plane, you're on the plane. Some boats will get up on the plane, little ones. Big boats tend to go like that. And it's quite a lot. You sit on 3,000 revs in a boat that might be 6 metres, or 3.2 and only doing 10 or 12 knots. You're burning a lot of fuel, okay? So just know your fuel. Sorry?
I use nearly 10 metres out of
Yeah, that's right, you would, that's right. Yeah, but if you've got a little boat, it's not too bad, but it's all relative. So a little boat running at 40 litres a tank, and if you're doing that sort of fishing, you use a lot. But at 6 knots,
Don't do it if
you're pretty good. Yeah.
You'll go to 200 metres.
Okay. Stewie.
Thank you.
So we're going to do the draw now, guys. So thank you everyone for coming along. Is there any questions at all, folks? Anyone? Anything you want to know?
Anyone feeling to go out deep tomorrow?
Deep tomorrow?
I know it's a wrong forum.
Yeah. Okay. No. Are you got deep dropping?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think tomorrow might be a bit windy. Are you going tomorrow?
Oh, I'm looking at windy and I think it's
It's like 8 to 10 knots, right?
it's about
There's nothing wrong with a bit of sea spray.
five and a half.
Oh, the swell, you mean?
No.
No, the wind.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it's actually like that low is getting sucked out east further, and every time it gets sucked out a bit further from that big low out there, it's making it better for us. So it's completely changed.
anything above 15 until after lunch.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's not. That's what I'm saying. Most of the days now 8 to 12 knots
Has
for
the
the day.
swell dropped off as it's gone out?
No, it's actually already pushing in from out the big one out there. It's starting to hit us. So it's
It's not working with us, isn't it?
it's metre and a half supposed for the next 2 or 3 days, but on some prognosis charts it shows it building quicker. By Saturday it's sort of 3 metres or whatever.
Just
Yeah.
one quick question. Is it worth trawling squids in the bay, Moreton Bay?
Look, you trawl them for spotties. That little metal one's not too bad.
Okay.
At about 6 to 8 knots, but most guys use spoons on a paravane. Yeah.
Or deep
Yeah.
divers.
Yeah, or deep divers. Yeah, little ones. Yeah.
Big ones.
Sorry. Weather apps. I like Windy, as the gentleman was saying. It seems to be they use a bit of everything, and Windy, W-A-N-D-Y. Not that you want to look at Windy, but Windy Days. But it's a really good app, yeah. And it has, when you pay for Windy, I don't know how much it is a year for the better version, but it's incredible. It is an endless amount of things you can look at. Okay, sea currents, sea temperatures, everything. It's a good app. I used to just watch Coastwatch, but Coastwatch has changed now. They do have the pictures of Seaway on it though, and the local. They have Windy in conjunction with it too, just the basic one. Yeah. So they've chosen that as well. Yeah.
But what are you running with your deep divers? Are you running mono or braid?
I run both, and they both work well.
Yep.
Yeah. I can't really see the difference. I don't know how many guys troll braid though, but I really can't see much difference. So the reason I say that is I use my jig rod. I troll my jig rods as a 3rd, 4th, 5th rod, and I troll like the TLD type setups.
Yep.
I've got quite a few of those. Yeah. They're good. They're just reliable.
Yeah.
And a smooth drag.
So on like a 25 or a 30,
Mm.
what, you'd run a bit of backing and then you'd run a ton of braid
If-
and then you'd run a chunk of mono on the end to...
Well, yes, that's right. So
With the mono and fighting with the braid?
yeah, 300 metres of braid's generally enough, and they're using 65 or 80 pound if you're going to use braid on there. You 2/3 fill it, then put your 3 on top, and then put your wind on top of that. Yeah. But generally speaking, yes, that's correct. You'd rarely get down to the backing. But on a TLD, I'd run mono all the way. But a little jig reel, I'd run braid on it, like a Torium or an Osha jig or something like
So the reverse is spin, so you're running the braid as you...
that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, just mono all the way. Mono all the way. Yeah. Any other questions at all, folks? Anything you want to know about anything? Crabs? Everyone's good. Okay, cool. You guys are set. All right. So, guys, I'm away for a few weeks, so Stewie's on. Stewie's a man. So, I'm here tomorrow, and that's it. We're finally going to Japan again, so we'll see my wife's in-laws. Parents, I should say, my in-laws. Sorry, Dave. So, but I'm going fishing over there. I'm going to do, what have we got planned? We're going to go out, deep water blue marlin fishing. I'm going to go deep water jigging and electric reel fishing out of Yokohama. Squid? Yeah, do that. Yeah, yes, I'd love to go squidding too. They get those big Humboldts over there. Yeah. And we're going to go ice fishing as well up on the freshwater side of things. Anyhow, I can't stop fishing. So, Stu will be here to help you out. I'll be here tonight and tomorrow though, but that's it. Yeah. Stewie, first prize. So first prize tonight, guys, it's about $500.